Hello friends, I am greeting you. Long time no see. I hope you are well, everything is good, your health is there and you enjoy your life. Today we talk a little bit about the situation in France. The situation in France actual is not very good, and I think there's a lot of violence going on, and President Macron must find a way out of there. He must find a solution very, very soon. If not, I fear the worst. But this is a subject after the intro. Stay with me. So, as you know better than I do, I spent 17 years of my life in France. I lived in France, I worked in France, and I still have a lot of connection in France there, and they give me all the information I need to tell you what's happening in France, and they are in the field of action, and as I told you before, the situation in France is not very good. Indeed, we have a lot of riots going on, a lot of protesters on the street, and a lot of force is being used from both sides, from the government via police, and from the people in the streets towards the police, and it's really a fight. It's really a fight, and it's struggling every day, and also the French pompiers are involved. The firemen, the fireworkers are involved. So it's a little bit like the French citizen against the government on the streets in Marseille, in Rennes, in Lyon, in Metz, in everywhere, in all the big cities in France. We are testimony actually a lot of violence, a lot of use of force, and this must change. This is not good. So I make some notice here, as you can see, and let's talk a little bit about the why, what's going on. All started in mid-March, when President Macron decided, when the French government decided to lift the retirement age from 62 years to 64 years. And this is not the worst. The worst is that they used the paragraph 49.3, and the paragraph 49.3 is to override the parliament in the decision, This is a tool, can be used by the government, but I think to use the 49.3 in this case, a special case, talking about retirement age, is not a very good idea. And when it comes to retirement, the French are very sensible, let's say sensible, and they have a firm opinion that working until 62 is okay, but working every day, all life long until 64, for them, there's a limit is reached, and they don't want it. They reject the idea to work 2 years longer to enjoy their retirement. And to tell you my opinion, I think they are right, because we only have one life, and when you are working 40 years every day on an everyday basis, it's good enough. And when you reach the age of 60, in my opinion, you must be able to go to retire, and to collect the fruits of your work before. And this is what the French people are thinking also. But in France, we have other problems. They are not on the streets bringing violence to the policemen and otherwise, only for the retirement age. There are a lot of problems. France has problems with prices who are getting higher and higher and higher. The life costs are very expensive. Then they have a lot of insecurity in the streets. First place in the banlieue, you can call it ghetto, where all the migrants are living, a lot of immigrants are living. And I think also that France made a mistake in the past, putting all the immigrants in the banlieue, so they cannot be part of the normal French citizenship, of the normal French citizen of the society. Because what happened? They're living in the banlieues, they're living in the ghettos, and they are only between them. So they live in the ghettos, in the banlieue, their culture, they speak their language, their traditions, and they meet themselves and their peoples and their parents and peoples like them. It's a little bit a state in a state in France, and this is not good. And especially for the young people immigrant people in France coming from Tunisia, from Morocco, from Algeria, from Senegal, from Nigeria, wherever you want, from Ivory Coast in Congo, a lot of French former colonies. They are, for them, it's not good. It's not a good solution because they can see no future, no hope, no. Because the French society reject those people, because not because of the fact that they are immigrants. I think it's the fact because they are like me, brown, black, mixed, whatever you want, and in France it's a big thing, you know. And as you know better than I do, let's talk about the war in Algeria. There have been cruel things happened there. A lot of people died there, and a lot of Algerians were fighting with the French troops against the rebels, against the Felagas, you know. And those people that we call in France the Harkis, they had to come to France with their family, a lot, thousands and thousands and thousands. And in France, they have not the same standards as the normal French citizen. I say the Français de souche, you know. You know what I mean? That you have two societies. You have on one part you have the Harkis and their sons and their sons and their sons, the family, you know, they live in the third, meanwhile in the second and third generation, and then you have the Français de souche, and those societies are different, you know. The Français de souche, they have all advantages, they have other incomes, they have a better standard of life. Meanwhile, the Harkis, they are not very well seen in France, in society. They live in the banlieues. They don't have so much job opportunities. They don't have so much hope for the future. And this is an injustice going on. And we have the same thing also with the Senegalese, you know, with the tireurs Senegalese who fought for France within the French army against the enemy in the First World War, in the Second World War, and they just, as well as the Harkis, now they're living in the second and third generation in France, you know, and they do not have the same, let's talk about the soldiers, they did not have the same soul as the French soldiers. And today they do not have the same retirement, the same money, the same amount of money, yeah, as the French soldiers have. So it's kind of injustice, you know. So in France we have firstly the problem with the 49.3, the paragraph that overrides the parliament, with the government overrides the parliament to have the retirement age being brought from 62 to 64. This is one problem. Then we have the problem with the immigrants, what causes a lot of insecurity also. So in France, women cannot go making their ballad in the parks in the nighttime. They cannot go to the metro, use the metro and the buses and the trains at nighttime. They have to be accompanied. They have to use the taxis because the insecurity in France is very high. We have the problems with immigration at all. As I told you, that young people from the immigrants coming from the Maghreb and from Africa and French former colonies, they see no hope. They see no future, and this all makes that there's a huge problem in France because all these guys, all these young people also, which are not happy with the life in France, with their situation, with the no hope situation, they join the protesters in the streets. Who are protest against the government because of the pension reform, and it's a mix. It's a melting pot of we are not happy and we will beat the shit out of the police, and the police is the enemy number one because this is what they can see as a representative of the government on the streets. So there are hard fightings going on. Houses are burning. The garbage is going up. Mountains of garbage are growing because the men and women who pick up the garbage, they cannot pass through. You know, a lot of riots, a lot of violence, a lot of beatings, you know, and a lot of unhappiness and a lot of injustice is going on. And I think, in my opinion, Macron has to find a solution these days because it's getting worse every day. Last weekend we had about 3.7 million people on the streets, and having there have been hard riots going on and huge demonstrations in all big cities as Metz, as Marseille, as Nantes, as Lyon, as Dijon, in Paris, in Tours, everywhere, everywhere. So in France, actually, everything is going from the bad to the worse. In Germany, we would say you come from the Regen to the Traufe, and people pay a lot for everything. You know, the prices are going high and high and high and high again. Everything, they pay a lot for the food, they pay a lot for renting an apartment. The houses, you cannot buy a house anymore because the price is too high. And it's in every and each domain is like it's the same. People are not happy that France is member of the NATO. Some want to push the government out of the NATO, that they leave the NATO, and some protest against the war in Ukraine, that against that the West supports Ukraine, and so on and so on. They say that, okay, we in France, we have a lot of problems. We have no money for school, no money for the retirement, no money for this, for that. But we put a lot of money towards other countries, you know, and they are the firm opinion that the government should take care first of the French people, of the French state, of the French well-being, then bringing money outside to other countries where there's the war. And I think that the idea what they have, the man on the road, they are right, you know. As somebody stated not a long time ago, America first, so they have the opinion, the same opinion, France first, you know. Why should we starve from hunger in France? Why should we pay high prices? Why should we be unhappy because we cannot get no jobs? We pay high prices for everything, and meanwhile our government took our money and bring it abroad. This is kind of crazy, and this is what the people are. This is what people think, have in mind every day. In France is an everyday struggle actually, because all the people in France are unhappy with the situation. And as I told you before, Macron must find a solution. The German people needs a long time longer to be unhappy, and only if you pick them really everything out of their pockets, if they have nothing anymore, then they go on the street to riots. As I told you in French language, the German Michel needs a little bit longer to be unhappy. But when the German people go on the streets, and I think this will be very hardcore. But we are not there, so this is the good plan. But if some things will not be stopped in Europe, generally in Europe, we are getting there, and this is for sure. So I keep you updated with the situation in France. I keep you updated with the situation in Europe, because I think that especially in the United States of America, you don't have every day the opportunity to have a lot of information, what's going on in Germany, what's going on in France, what's going on in Europe, and I will give you all the information you need. Stay in line. Happy life. Amitié légionnaire, yours, Thomas Gast.